Maybe. There's this Chinese proverb, and I do not have it right in front of me, but I've written about it, posted about it. And there's this Chinese proverb where um, a son comes home and he's found he captured a horse, right? A wild horse, and he brings a horse uh, to the home. Now they have another horse to help them to use on the farm, and everybody says, "Oh my God, isn't that so great?" Talking to this son's father, and his father just responds, "Maybe." And so the son is breaking in this horse and out riding it the week after, and falls and breaks his arm. And they're like, "Oh my God, like, if you wouldn't have gotten this horse, your son never would have broken his arm." And the father responds, "Maybe." Short time after his son breaking his arm, the Imperial Army comes through, kind of just like Mulan, right? And if you've ever seen the movie Mulan, and says that all sons in the country of China are called to essentially be drafted to be a part of the Imperial Army to go off to war. But because the son had broken his arm just a short time before, was not eligible to go. And so the people, once again, they come to the father and they say, "Oh my goodness, wow. Isn't your son so lucky? Like, what the timing of breaking his arm right before they came to take him off to war. That's so great." And the father says, "Maybe." And before even knowing of this proverb or this story, I've kind of always had that same mentality, right? Like, maybe, there isn't necessarily good or bad things that happen to us. I mean, it all really just kind of depends. It depends on your perspective. It depends on how you look at things. It depends on, and some people could hear that and they could have had very hard, tragic times in their life. They could have had very hard, difficult things in their life, right? They may have lost people, or they have gone through personal journeys where they've had a lot of health issues or disease or death, and their family are close to them, and how could someone like me sit there and say that that's not those aren't all bad things, and that maybe it is, maybe it isn't. There's a gift in everything, and it doesn't mean that everything is easy. It doesn't mean that just because there's a gift there doesn't mean that I would still prefer to, probably, depending on what it is, not have to go through it, right? Unfortunately, life, or fortunately, again, maybe, depending on how you look at it, doesn't play that way, right? I just know that there's going to be really good days, and there's going to be really what I would consider bad days. But we never know the impact or the results or the good that will come out of the bad, and the bad that often sometimes will come through the good, right? And that's where that story of maybe comes into play. Oftentimes, in order for a forest, let's say, for example, to regenerate and to reset and flourish, a fire needs to come through and devastate and burn it all down, right? In order for it to come back fuller than it ever had been before. And so there's many that would look at that fire and say that was awful. That's horrible. Oh my gosh, look at the devastation. And maybe, right? Maybe not, because of what comes out from it on the other side. There's been some devastating things that have happened in our history You can go back to probably any of the wars, and then you can also look to the uh, incredible good that has come out of it as well. Um, you know, do we need to go through that war? Do we need to go through the death and the destruction in order to get that good? Maybe. I don't know. Right. So that's kind of my point here for you today is, how could you shift your perspective a little bit more to maybe to no matter what gets thrown at you, right? It's a bit of not ever getting too high and never getting too low. And it doesn't mean that you shouldn't celebrate the victories. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't get ecstatic and have some enthusiasm inside of your life. And when things are really going well, to do that, but also to in the back of your mind, just remind yourself that with the highs also comes the lows. And so this mentality of maybe, or this mentality of continuing to kind of keep an even keeled, paced perspective through life will allow you to be prepared for all that it throws at us, right? Not necessarily to go around looking around each corner being like, man, things are going really good. All right, I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for that bad thing to happen. Not saying that at all. I'm just saying that, you take things in stride inside of your life with this perspective that was given to us through this Chinese proverb or story of maybe. And that's what I got for you today. And I hope that resonates with you at some level and can help to maybe give you a little shift that you've been looking, or maybe didn't even know that you needed at this time, as we continue to move forward and figure this thing out and continue to do good and impact and inspire others along the way. So let's go.